Hello and welcome back to the Platinum Trophy Online, your weekly PlayStation topical show. The Platinum Trophy Online is a 1-hour live stream that happens every Saturday afternoon US time and Sunday morning Australian time. And then I edit it down after the fact into a short 20 or 30 minute video for your watching on YouTube. If you're watching this live, welcome. If you're watching this not live, also welcome and good on you. This week's topic is the games that we're excited to play in 2021, and we've got a bunch of correspondence from the audience here as well. I think we're going to start diving straight into some of it right now. I've got a few little bits and pieces that I have pulled, and what I thought I would do is I'll talk about some of the games I'm excited to play. I'll get you guys in the chat to let me know some of the games you're excited to play, and then we've got some games that people have posted on the blog post or the community post about that they're excited to play as well, and we can kind of just share it all together. All right, fantastic. Okay, cool. So there was a bunch of comments left. Now make sure you leave yours on the chat as well, guys, but there was a bunch of comments left over on the blog post that I posted. Adam posted that he's really excited to play the new Indiana Jones game if it comes in 2021. I thought it's a good time to start with that. That was like news from last week. I think Adam mentioned like Indiana Jones a couple of weeks ago on the stream as well, if I remember correctly, saying like he was really pumped to play an Indiana Jones game. It's funny because like just 2 weeks later, an Indiana Jones game gets announced. I would say there is no chance that this game will come out in 2021 though. I think the game hasn't even started on development. So my guess is that you'll probably see this game at some point in like the next 4 or 5 years, maybe. I reckon like 2025, 2026, perhaps. It's a long ways off, sadly. So we're gonna be waiting a little bit of time for this. I don't even know if Machine Games have actually started this game because they didn't give any clarity except for that teaser, or whether or not it's exclusive, etc., etc. As a franchise, yeah, it's kind of cool, but I think Uncharted is pretty much Indiana Jones, and so is Tomb Raider. I mean, except for the fact that they're not Indiana Jones, but they're the same thing. I don't know. I really do wonder what Machine Games can do differently. My guess is that it will be an Xbox exclusive, and maybe it's Microsoft's answer to Indiana Jones. That's like my best guess. Who knows? And you know, the other thing as well is that Machine Games, they create the Wolfenstein games. So seeing them work on, you know, something that could potentially be a third-person game would shock me a little bit. So it makes me think maybe it's a first-person game. Although, on saying that, you know, Guerrilla Games famously were working on the Killzone franchise for years, and that was a first-person franchise, and then they switched over to making third-person games like Horizon. So it absolutely can be done. We'll just have to wait and see. Toe says he's hyped for Harry Potter. Well, Harry Potter got delayed, actually, Tony. Got delayed out of 2021. They announced it last week as well, that game's moved to 2022 at the earliest. So you're not going to see that this year. I was pretty excited for it too. And the announcement was very strange, how they sort of went about delaying that just out of the blue. Like, I don't think people were really talking about it, but my guess, like I said on the Platinum Trophy show last week, was I think they were trying to get ahead of it just in case they saw like they didn't want people to get excited all year and then the game was just delayed. So I'm guessing that's probably why they jumped out in front of that one, just to make sure like it was delayed nice and early, not ruin people's expectations. That's PlayStation 3 Gaming Scotland. So he has got, and this is okay, so this is a good comment. PS3 Gaming Scotland said Ratchet Clank, God of War, and Far Cry 6. Now, the general consensus on the channel was these 3 games. I think this is what the majority of the comments were. It was Ratchet, God of War, and Far Cry, the most anticipated games that were coming out this year. So the God of War and Ratchet are on my list. Far Cry, not so much. Let's talk about Far Cry first, and then I want to talk about like Ratchet. We'll move on to that. Far Cry is a weird one because they've released so many games that feel so samey now that I don't know how excited I am for Far Cry 6. I didn't see enough in that trailer that they released to be like, heck yeah, gotta get into this. But it looks like another Far Cry game. And, you know, the Far Cry games are great, generally. Far Cry 3 is the best one in that franchise, but the games are generally pretty good. They all play very similar, but they don't really do a huge amount different game to game. I know the aesthetic is different, the scenery is different, the narrative is different, but the thing is, the formula behind them is very similar. And I think I'm kind of just like, I don't know. It's almost like Assassin's Creed, where a new game comes out every other year at this point, and it becomes quite samey despite being very different. I know a lot of people love those games and enjoy them, so I'm not disparaging people who love them. It's great if people do really like them, but I think, I don't know, for me, I'm a little bit on the fence with Far Cry. I'm like, yeah, could take it or leave it. Could take it or leave it. Ratchet & Clank, though, that's a one I want to talk about, because I'm really excited for Ratchet & Clank. Ratchet & Clank's like probably one of the games I'm most excited about, I would say, this year. I think it's probably my most anticipated game on PlayStation 5. I don't know what it is, but the previous Ratchet & Clank game done so well, and Ratchet in general is a franchise that I feel like is super underrated in general. I think, you know, I think this franchise has been awesome for years, and people kind of slept on it a little bit during the PS3 and maybe even towards the end of the PS2, kind of not really taking notice of it. And then when it came out on PS4, I think it came out at a really good time on PS4 when not a lot of other games came out, and people were like, oh wow, Ratchet's actually really, really good. And so a lot more people have kind of jumped on that one. This game here looks awesome though. Like, it just looks like more of the same thing we've seen from Ratchet, but in like a good way. Like, enhanced for the PlayStation 5. The color scheme looks great. The graphics look really good. The game runs really smooth. They've got that really crazy combat with the weapons and things like that still in here, but it still seems friendly for younger gamers as well. So older gamers and younger gamers can enjoy it. I realize I'm sitting in front of Ratchet right now, where I'm positioned, which is not ideal. Let's go over here a little bit. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think this game has like a ton of potential to be a real contender for one of the better games that comes out in 2021. And honestly, out of like all the PS4 stuff that we know are coming out this year, Ratchet is probably the thing I'm looking forward to the most. You guys know I'm a little bit biased because I do really like mascot games. I'm a massive fan of mascot games. So seeing a mascot game done with a AAA budget like this and done with like this level of polish, I think is just really special. And it's not something that you get, you know, very frequently on, you know, PS4 or PS5. I mean, we got Crash done, but I think even Crash 4, I think, was done with a AA sort of budget in mind rather than a AAA budget. And I think the price point was kind of reflective of that as well. Same with all of those remasters like Spyro and Crash and things. None of them sort of feel like they have the same scale or all in nature like this game does. What's going to be interesting is seeing the price point on this, whether or not Sony do decide to price it like a AA, or they decide to go and try and price it as a AAA game. That's going to be really interesting. I think the Ratchet & Clank 2016 game did so well because of its price point. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this one performs. I'm intrigued by. And then also the narrative and stuff and how this fits in. The Ratchet universe now is so sparse in terms of like the original PS2 trilogy of games, which is kind of just like Ratchet & Clank. You've got the future trilogy or series of games on the PlayStation 3. You've got like all these spin-off games on the PS3 as well. Then on the PS4, you've got this retelling of the original, like Ratchet & Clank movie or Ratchet & Clank remastered. It's going to be interesting to see where this game fits into the entire timeline of Ratchet & Clank, like chronology, because there's so much to Ratchet & Clank now that it's, who knows where it's actually going to fit in to everything. So I think that's, it's cool. Ratchet is one that I'm really excited about. So that's the first one that I'm really pumped for, I think. That's probably actually my most anticipated game, I think, of this year. Posted this post here about Hood, and I saw him posting in the comment section about Hood as well. Not even sure when it's released. I think Hood's coming out in the next couple of months. I believe it's like April or March. Hood is this like third-person game set in the Robin Hood universe. It's got the single-player component to it as well as a multiplayer component. The game primarily looks like a multiplayer game, and I think it was shown to us at the Game Awards, I believe. But it's on the PlayStation 5 for pre-order at the moment. So if you go into the PlayStation Store, you can see the pre-order details there, and it's got a release date and everything next to it. This game looks really cool too. It's like a fantasy multiplayer game, so it looks like it's combining sort of fantasy elements from like a fantasy RPG plus things from like Chivalry Medieval Warfare, which was a PvP game that came out on the PC and the PlayStation 4 as well. And it looks like it's combining elements from like both of those things. So you've got this cool robust single player and then this multiplayer thing. Robin Hood's not traditionally something we see a game about, so it could be interesting to see that. I did think it looked like one of the better announcements off the back of the Game Awards, so that game definitely has potential. Vault Boy said, very similar to PS3 game he's got, but he said Ratchet Clank: A Rift Apart. Been thirsty for a proper Ratchet game since we got the movie title. Can't wait to see what next gen features are implemented, and I agree. Oh, actually, on that as well, I forgot to mention, last week they announced that Ratchet & Clank: A Rift Apart, the weapons are going to feel different. Every single weapon is going to feel different in the game because of the DualSense controller, and the haptics and the adaptive triggers are going to feel different for every weapon and how they fire and how they shoot, which is going to be so cool. If anyone here has a PS5 and they've used the adaptive triggers or the any of the DualSense features, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's wholly unique, and it's not something that you can like even really describe in a way. It's one of those things that like you have to try to understand exactly what makes it so special. But trust me, the DualSense controller is wholly unique in the way that it feels and the way that it plays and the way that it conducts itself. It's very cool, and I think I'm really pumped to see what they do to implement that. That's just a little aside. The other one here was posted was God of War Ragnarok, and I know Michael mentioned that as well. So I thought we could talk a little bit about God of War. Now, this is the hardest one to place, is God of War. Now, the reason being is because realistically, I don't know when God of War can come out. That's my big problem. I sat there sort of when I did my PS5 kind of like predictions games coming out in 2021 video that I made about a week ago, thinking like, when does God of War come out? If we know what the lineup of games is from a first party perspective, first of all, we have Returnal coming out in March. That's March. Ratchet's probably coming out in May, I would say, just because I don't know when else it can. Then we've also got God of War, GT, and Horizon, which have all been announced for this year. Gran Turismo, I think, will be the very end of the year. Makes sense. It will fit into like the racing season. Then you've kind of got Horizon and God of War to place, which are both two juggernaut AAA franchises. And, if we're assuming all of them are coming out this year, I would say God of War, you're probably going to see it in like October, and Horizon, you're probably going to see in August. But it's highly unusual that we don't know the dates of these things, although Sony have been known to sort of announce the dates for games a month or 2 months before they just launch them. So, it is entirely possible that we do still get it this year. I feel like because there's been so much negativity on the internet as well about how it's like, it's definitely not coming out this year, the studio might be more pushed to be like, well, we're going to bloody well make sure it comes out this year just to prove everyone wrong. On the inverse of that, they could be going the other side and being like, well, Cyberpunk rushed it out and look where Cyberpunk is now. So, they might not want to be in a similar situation to that. Every God of War game, I'm talking 1, 2, 3, I'm talking Ascension, I'm talking God of War PS4, have all come out in March, April. That's just been the release date of every single one of those games ever. So, given that little bit of knowledge, my assumption would be that this game comes out in March, April next year. Here's to still hoping it comes out in 2021. Here's to still hoping. I would love to play a God of War sequel in 2021. It'd be absolutely fantastic. I don't know. I was excited for this, and then the way they revealed everything and announced everything in that press conference on Friday, I think was such a good job. The way they teased the game initially, saying we've got this game and it's coming. Good job. They went quiet. They came back during this reveal and said the game's coming to PS4 and PS5. Good job again. And the game's coming out in May. So it's like 3 months away. And I'm like sitting there being like, yes, yes, yes. Resident Evil 8. It's coming so soon. I cannot wait. Perfect way to announce and release a game. I talked about this all on the Platinum Trophy show, the episode that went up today. And I sort of just gave it like a bit of a praise for the way they kind of dealt with everything and did everything. You know, announcing the date, the SKUs, what consoles it's going to be on, the extra content, the collector's edition, stuff like that. I think they just did a good job. They did a really good job of giving you all the information you needed. They also released a demo. Now they can kind of go quiet for a few months and then come back and get us all pumped for it again, you know, a month before release with their proper marketing campaign. And I think that's just a really good way to build up release for a game. The game like takes place after RE7, so you're playing as the same character from Resident Evil 7 in this new environment. We don't know why they're here, but it's got like a combination of the old school Resident Evil stuff with Chris Redfield featured in here as well. He's also the statue in the game. And then Ethan Winters, which is the new character, who's not like an agent or anything like Chris and Leon. He's just this guy. And in Resident Evil 7, he's trying to save his wife, so who knows what he's doing in this game. It's so cool, man. I'm so excited. This looks tons to me like Resident Evil 4 as well. It feels a lot like they've tried to take the environment and the aesthetic from Resident Evil 4. They've tried to take the storytelling potentially from Resident Evil 7 and the gameplay from Resident Evil 7 and meld these two things together. And I think it's a really, really good place to be, because I feel like those two games, Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7, are probably people's two favorite ones in the entire franchise. And so taking like the best parts of both of these games and incorporating them into one thing is really special. I know I'm gushing about this a little bit. I'm really excited for this game. So, I think Ratchet was the thing I was looking forward to the most on PS5. And then this got announced, and now I'm like, I don't know any. They revealed that really cool collector's edition statue, and I've been sitting on the fence, kind of waiting. I'm not sure if I want to pre-order it or not. They haven't actually given a price, but I think it's gonna be like $400. And I'm like, I don't think I can justify, spending that kind of money on something. So I don't think I'll be able to get it, but it does look very, very cool. This game just looks awesome, man. I'm so excited for Resident Evil. Very excited for this. I guess the way I would position it is like, if you wanted to, you could play it RE7, and that's going to give you like a little bit more backstory. But I'm sure this will be like, they design them in a way that means you can kind of enjoy it without having to, play through years of games which are not even accessible anymore. Those are the three games I wanted to talk about. Those three are the main ones I really wanted to talk about. I think it was Ratchet, God of War, and Resident Evil. They're the three that I'm most excited for in 2021. I think a lot of other stuff, we don't know about a ton of games, for starters, that are coming out. There's obviously going to be some more first-party games from Sony. Ubisoft haven't announced their full lineup of content yet. Activision haven't either. I think there's probably a Spyro game coming out this year. We're probably going to see we will see a new Call of Duty game, obviously. Ubisoft will probably release a new Assassin's Creed game. EA will have its sports titles. I don't think we have a Star Wars game coming out this year. EA probably due for a new Battlefield game this year as well. So there's like a bunch of new content that we still just don't know about yet. All these like kind of mainstay AAA titles, but we won't know about those until June. Normally that's when you find out about a lot of that stuff. Bethesda have got their two titles kind of on the table, so we're probably not going to see much more from them. Maybe they have like an Evil Within or something from Tango Works, but I'm not sure. And yeah, like I think that's kind of all of the stuff like that we know about to date so far. That's kind of where I'm at the moment. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of the Platinum Trophy Online. I really appreciate everyone who tuned in live, as well as all of you who are watching the replay on YouTube as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. If you're not a subscriber already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I guess I'll see everyone in the next episode.